Anime. We all love it. It's a medium that expands our perspective on what's possible, showing us the true wonders of human creativity, storytelling, and cinema. But while the shows themselves are incredible, their fandoms have a habit of completely destroying their reputations. Between the constant negative yapping and the absolute disrespect for different genres, the community can be unbearable. Worse still, a huge chunk of these fans have an attention span shorter than a goddamn goldfish. So when they see a scene where the character is doing something else besides cutting or punching people, they immediately lose it. And this is something that causes some of the greatest shows to not even receive a single well-deserved recognition. We directly start with the fandom of Jujutsu Kaisen, the most falsely glazed anime of the 21st century, entirely based upon the concept of coping and a lot of coping and curses, plus flashy action and animation, which for sure was amazing and top-notch. But storytelling-wise, it wasn't even a little bit closer to the Hall of Fame status that Vinland Saga achieved, which is a story that truly connects to the soul of a person, nature of humanity. It explores violence, love, hatred, God, redemption, politics, and morality in the deepest depths possible. And it's something far more superior that surpasses the imagination of naive children. It doesn't need no flashy representation at awards for a piece of metal decided by / voted by those same naive weak minds, when in fact Vinland Saga is an anime that had and is still having a genuine real positive impact on lives of my fellow human beings. If Jujutsu Kaisen proved that modern fans have the attention span of a goldfish, My Hero Academia proved what happens when a community develops a completely unhinged sense of emotional entitlement. When MHA first dropped, it had a genuine heart. It was a classic underdog story about a kid with zero talent putting his body and everything on the line just to prove he belonged. But somewhere around season 3 or 4, the fan base completely lost its mind. They stopped watching the show for its hero philosophy. Instead, they turned it into a debating ground for toxic romantic soap opera. If you were anywhere near anime Twitter in 2019, you already know exactly where this is going. My Hero Academia had one job: tell a story about a kid with no power becoming the greatest hero alive, and for a while it did that job really well. Great cast, great villains, genuinely one of the strongest modern shonen. And then the fandom looked at all of that and said, cool story, but what if we turned it into a custody battle? They stopped being a group of people watching a show together and turned into two rival political parties who just happened to share Discord server. And when Horikoshi, the guy who actually writes the show in case that needs clarifying, drew a completely normal nothing happens conversation between Deku and Otaku, a chunk of the retarded fandom did not take it well. Harassment, death threats over a conversation, not a kiss, not a confession, just two people talking. Meanwhile, the guy fans wanted him with instead spent an entire arc using Deku as an insult before it got a rebrand. That's the ship people were sending death threats over not getting. At some point, people stopped watching the anime Horikoshi was actually making and started watching the version that lived in their fan fictions. And then these retards got personally offended every time canon didn't match the fanfiction in their heads. Then 2020 happened. TikTok handed everyone a ring light and a microphone, and suddenly you couldn't scroll for 10 seconds without a 15-year-old doing a full clinical evaluation.
Let's talk about Shodo's attachment style.
Buddy, he shoots ice out of his leg. He doesn't have an attachment style. He has a character sheet. And somewhere in the middle of all that, just liking the show quietly became a liability. Wearing an All Might shirt stopped meaning I like a well-written shonen and started meaning please do not ask me anything about this fandom, I am begging you. Not because the show got worse, but because loving it out loud would ruin your entire reputation in the goddamn hood. Now it's time for the Ayanokoji Sigma mastermind manipulator daddy's cult of personality fandom. This entire fandom is living under a bubble of mass delusion of their own world, where the writer by choice targets a teenage demographic to smartly construct a character that will appear flawless and perfect and inspiring in almost all aspects, which of course causes these teenagers to be inspired by him and try to learn how to walk like Ayanokoji, how to breathe like Ayanokoji, how to bang like Ayanokoji, and how to shit like Ayanokoji, and how to sleep like Ayanokoji, and how to get baddies like Ayanokoji, etc. Where the entire personality of a person is based upon the idea that look, I am so smart, they don't know what's going on in my head and how I am critically analyzing every single organs and the movement of their bodies. Overall, Classroom of the Elite is no different from your typical mid-animes that represent nothing more than a high school kid's wet dream, and that's a fact. Subscribe!